This is the first time that I can remember, not that I thought the Patriots would lose at Foxborough, because a couple years ago I thought if they had played the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, they could lose at Foxborough. But that I would be very surprised if they don't lose at Foxborough. And I think the Chiefs are going to win, and I think we have a ton of evidence over the last month of how vulnerable this Patriot team really is, not just by their losses the last month to Houston, where they're down 19 with 4 minutes left, to Baltimore, who whooped them in the first half and then whooped them again in the second half after New England tied the game. But how do those wins, those close last, games going down last-minute wins against Philly and Dallas look right now? Philly having a Nelson Aguilar ball in his hands to tie that football game in Philadelphia. Philly since then, of course, has not won a football game and just let Ryan Fitzmagic run roughshod over him. Dropped, what was it, 37? New England scored 17 in that game. How does the 13-9 victory over the Dallas Cowboys, where the Cowboys had the ball with a chance, drive the field, maybe pull off the... First of all, you had a chance to tie it, and Jason Garrett kicks a field, but then you get the ball back. And, yeah, I don't think the tripping call changed the game, but I know Cowboy fans do. But either way, it's a 13-9 victory over the Dallas Cowboys, a Dallas Cowboys team that since then, how'd the Bills offense look against them? How'd the Mitch Trubisky-led Bears offense look against them? So it's not just that the Patriots have lost twice in the last month. It's that their wins, which at the moment we're like, oh, a good Philly team, a good Dallas. We now know Philly and Dallas are still in Week 13 struggling to find their identity. So the Chiefs, on the other hand, to me, are right now a stock that is way undervalued. The Chiefs last year were 12-4. Everyone loved them. This year they're going to finish 12-4, and everyone is out on them. They beat the Minnesota Vikings without their best player. They were tied in the fourth quarter against the Green Bay Packers without their best player, and they are, by the way, the only team in the last 2 years to have had any success against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, everyone's best team in football. And that was, and so you have, to me, a team that's undervalued in the Chiefs, and the Patriots team that's overvalued. I really like Kansas City in this game.
Well, here's the thing. I think the Patriots are overvalued just because a lot of people have confidence in them based on the history of the franchise, and they've gone to 8 straight AFC Championship games.
Which is insanity.
Which is insane. But, I mean, you're talking about a double-digit win team already through the first 12 games. So even though they've struggled a bit on the offensive side of the ball, this team repeatedly finds a way to win games. And you're talking about the wins that they have over the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys, and they're not necessarily looking the best, but there are no style points in the National Football League. You just got to get your wins any way you can. And so looking at this particular matchup, I think the Patriots understand in this game, you have to limit the opportunities that this Chiefs offense has. That's how they won the 2 games last year, both in the regular season and the AFC Championship game. They won time of possession. It was a 2-to-1 disparity. I think it has to be that same formula if they're going to have any shot at being able to beat this Chiefs team, because I do not believe that this Patriots defense can hold this Chiefs offense down for 4 full quarters if they're going to get the standard amount of possessions. If you're talking about Pat Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill and company getting the ball 11 or 12 times in this game, it's going to be a wrap. The only way that the Patriots win in Foxborough this Sunday is if they hold them to less than 10 possessions in this game. That's their only true path to victory as far as I see it.
I'm glad you brought that up, because it wasn't pretty. There were some ugly, ugly wins there for the Patriots. But how did the Chiefs look? When they looked awesome. When Patrick Mahomes first came back, he had 446 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. He looked beautiful, like spectacular. Oh, but they lost the game against the Tennessee Titans. That was another. It doesn't matter. This isn't college football. You don't need to win style points. Yes, the Patriots throughout their tenure haven't always been this juggernaut offensively. They've figured out ways to win, and it doesn't matter to them. Same thing with Tom Brady. I honestly don't think he cares that he's having his worst statistical year, in recent memory.
You don't think he sounds frustrated whenever he talks?
No, I think he's frustrated because he knows they're vulnerable, and he knows they have some issues to fix here running out. I think if they win against the Chiefs and he has another ugly game, he's complaining to the media, I think he sleeps okay at night. Like, I think it bothers him, and he knows what they need to do to get better. But I do feel, like you talk about limiting the possessions, I do think they will rely more on the run game now than they have in recent history, because they can run on this Chiefs defense, which is something they have severely been lacking. Yes, they have very significant issues. The tight end is an issue. Without Gronk, they are not the same. They are last in tight end touchdowns, last in tight end receptions. It is a problem. But I think the Chiefs' defense is going to be just what they need at the right time. And it may not be pretty, but I think it's still going to be a W.
I just wonder why, then, the Philly, Dallas, or Houston Texans, who have a legitimately bad defense, particularly since J.J. Watt got hurt, why that wasn't what they needed. Dallas, they needed a block punt to win that football game. Philly, they scored 17. Against the Houston Texans, they had 9 points with 4 minutes left in that football game. The way they were able to limit the possessions, even though, by the way, Kansas City scored 31 second-half points in each of their matchups last year, was something they have not shown the ability to do this year. Run the ball down your throat. Sony Michel last year was 80 yards per game. This year he's 50 yards per game. Last year was 4.5 yards per carry. This year 3.5 yards per carry. Nobody has ever talked more about a fullback than the Patriots' James Devlin. They seem to truly miss him because they're so limited in the passing game.
They've got Elandon Roberts, a linebacker, playing fullback in certain situations.
Exactly right. And so I am not going to sit here and act like the Chiefs are invulnerable. Your point about the Titans is that's the nightmare scenario for Chiefs fans, is you dominate a football game for 3.5 quarters and then make 7 consecutive inexcusable mistakes in the final minutes, where if just one of those 7 you had done right, you get the win, which might end up being the difference between the Chiefs being the #1 overall seed and having to play in the first round of the playoffs in the wild card round. So the situational football, I'm not going to argue in the Chiefs' favor, and run defense, I'm not going to argue in the Chiefs' favor. It's been a problem for 2 years. I don't know if the Pats have the personnel to take advantage of the Chiefs' issues running the football because the offensive line isn't what it once was. Sony Michel's having a rougher season. Rob Gronkowski, he's, of course, the most productive per-game basis pass-catching tight end ever, but he was also such a dominant run-blocking tight end, you didn't know what you were going to do. And we talk about blueprints all the time. I feel like the Texans' blueprint of, we're doubling Edelman, we're putting a corner on James White, we dare you. Do anything else. I think that's a pretty damn good blueprint that teams are going to follow.
And if you can't run the football, that's going to work all day long. So ultimately, I think they've got to do some self-scouting and look at it and say, all right, we have to try to work Sony Michel. You mentioned all the 400-yard rushing games last year, 0 this year. They almost, and even if it's not working, just stay committed to it, and hopefully he pops one out of there, because they can't sit back there and trust Brady to be the Brady that he was his entire career. That's the one thing I agree with you there. I just think they will figure things out as they have done traditionally, figure it out whatever it takes to win, and I think it's going to be running the football.
Well, I think it's going to be harder to figure out because you're dealing with some injuries along that offensive line. Yeah. Ted Karras, who stepped in for David Andrews, is a little bit banged up. They're talking about starting James Ferentz now at center, so it's not going to get any easier in terms of Bill Belichick trying to find a way to get production in the run game. But I think we all agree that the Patriots have to be able to run the football in order to control time of possession and give themselves a chance in this game.
And as of this morning, they don't have a kicker. By the way, no, literally.
Right. No,
they don't have a kicker on the roster. It'd be a bold move to go into a game without one, but I don't know who they're going to pick up because they tried to pick up McLaughlin and the Colts swiped him from him. So I don't know who's going to kick for the Patriots.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.